Hi. I'm glad that you're sticking around with us. I appreciate that. It's getting late, and I know everybody's running off for airplanes, trains, and ships, and whatever flies. I'm having the pleasure of moderating this panel. It was a very last-minute decision, so I haven't talked to any of my panelists here, which I apologize. I think that the best thing to do would be to really use this 15 minutes to kind of summarize some of the things that have been said, some of the ideas of how blockchain and contracts could work together, or how they can not work together. If we want to fight, I'm very happy to have two opposing opinions. So if I could ask each of you to kind of give a 2-3 sentence overview of what you've seen throughout the 2 days, and how would you summarize it? Starting with Richard.
Is this one on?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm encouraged that there is a rising sense that the quality of information that we can manage and handle will attack this problem of the way people behave in construction, the way they feel they have to protect themselves against the unknown. And if we can push back against that and create a more trusting environment, then I think we will get tremendous rewards out of it. Remember that about 30% of all the money spent on construction is completely wasted. So the hope that, well, you've been reading this week from Keith Waller, who is in charge of the construction transformation effort for government at the moment, that everybody should be making bigger profits, should be making more money, should have less risk, and buildings shouldn't cost any more to do that because there's such a huge amount of wasted effort in it at the moment. But we do have to get away from the knee-jerk expectation that we will have to go on behaving in the old way. And that's why all these comments about top-down behaviour, bottom-up behaviour, network psychology is all good stuff, and it is much more about human culture than it is about technology in the end.
Yeah, I think. Can I just comment back on that? So, I think that's one of the realities that I'm finding at the moment is, so with the UCL East project as an example, we've got the senior management team have this great vision as to what they want to happen. They want this smart campus. So they've, we've got the right hype around it. I think the real challenge that I'm going through at the moment is trying to figure out how to influence the people involved in the project as to what they actually need to do differently, rather than just the approach that they're currently taking to it. And there is an appetite for that. So the door is open for me to then propose that. But what they're kind of asking for is, Duncan, what's the answer? How do we do it? So what do you want estates and the IT department to do? And I'm kind of going, actually, I don't know what the answer is. But surely let's get together and try and work out what the answer is.
Yep.
I think that's part of the challenge. Is actually how do we do this?
Thanks. For me, collaboration is the key, and cooperation is something that comes naturally to us, but I don't think collaboration does. I think it's something that we have to work on. It has to be taught. If you take the journey of any of our professionals at the moment, from the day they enter into college, they are segregated from their fellow potential professionals, educated in silos. They're brought out into the professional world where they've got boundaries of demarcation in terms of what they will do and what they won't do. Now, if we're going to succeed in the challenge that we currently face in the biggest construction project in human history, which is basically refurbishing the existing stock that we have to do that. The only way we can do that is on the basis of collaboration. So we have the tools, we have the knowledge, but what we need to get is the human endeavour. It is us as a profession to stop calling ourselves architects, engineers, constructors, but to say I am a member of the building profession, and that immediately breaks down barriers in terms of allowing me to work on an equal basis with you in a collaborative form. That's what I think needs to happen.
Yeah, you know, my observations of today were the following: is that when I talked to our researchers at IBM, and we were focusing a lot on BIM level 10. And I thought, you know, what is BIM level 10? And it doesn't exist. It's like cognitive BIM. So I really did ask, you know, to look into, you know, what could AI means to BIM. But what I've learned today, especially also with all the presentations, is you know, blockchain could play a very important role. Yeah, and that's my challenge I take on. I'm really going to challenge our team also to think about what could it mean. Yeah, and then think on the edge what technology could mean. If you really think about that, blockchain will be an enabler of this BIM. That's something that I learned today, and I think that is a great combination. But I would really add on that in that combination the artificial intelligence. If I look at the investments that the clients are making at this moment, it's all first around BIM. You see the construction companies, they invest about, you know, getting BIM certified in level 2. A lot of the money goes there first. Yeah. And then the second thing they put the money in now, what I see is a lot in the challenges about AI. How could I use more intelligence into my processes, or even how could I also automate a bit of my process, just process optimization. But if you really go into the next phase, then if you combine BIM also with the artificial intelligence, that would be, I would say, a very great environment to be. But that's my challenge I take on. Thank you.
So I haven't been here for the whole conference. I'm David Hanson, and I'm sorry, Richard, I'm a lawyer. But I agree with all that you. I agree with all that you say. And I think I wanted to spend my sort of minute and a half or so on smart contracts, because I think there's a lot of confusion out there. If you talk to our construction clients about smart contracts and blockchain, there's a lot of talk. I'm not sure it's moved on in the last year or so. There's already 1 million or over 1 million crypto contracts on Ethereum. And so the concept and the thinking around some of this isn't actually that new anymore. I think we do still need the lawyers. I would say that with my Turkey state vote for Christmas. But what a smart contract does, and we've developed it in our in-house consultancy called Clyde Code. We've developed some smart contracts that do actually now work. So smart guarantees, for example, that generate a result on certain events happening. And where you put a smart contract into a permissionless public blockchain, the control of that contract is no longer in the hands of the parties that are party to it. So others can play a role in the delivery of better, more efficient service, better, more efficient construction. The average net profit margin in the UK last year in the construction industry was 0.6%. It does not take much for something to go wrong on a project for construction contractors to be in a negative situation. I think it's 1.5%, checked this morning, 1.5% across the EU, looking across the piece. So the code can execute the transaction. The code can put in place the mechanism to operate whatever's been agreed. But what we're finding is that actually, of course, you're still living around the code, because lawyers love ambiguity, and actually often it's the ambiguity that makes a difference between making a 0.6% profit or making a 15% loss. So I think we are underway with the journey. What we're seeing, actually, if you look at BIM, you look at ways in which I'm a procurement lawyer for my sins. If you look at supply chain management and how to generate efficiency, there's a huge amount that we can do by working together. There's a minute and a half.
No, that's very interesting, and I like how basically all of the comments to me sounded like, well, yeah, the technology is great, and we should be using the technology, but we have to figure out the solution and the human factor, which basically is every industry ever, any industry ever. It's always that, and this is actually something that, from my perspective, working in Hyperledger, I see with almost all of our members. The part of creating consortia, creating collaboration, finding how do we apply this and how do we regulate this stuff. All of these things are the most important parts. So it's not, I guess the positive side there is that it's not a unique to construction thing, which is great, because if we solve that, we solve many other problems. And I agree with you. Actually, I'm not sure maybe the guys from our core project would be better suited here, but as far as I know, we still are lacking companies that would create smart contracts and take responsibility for the outcomes of execution. Today, any product that is being sold comes with a warranty, and that manufacturer takes responsibility for the product.
The point is that in legal terms, the code isn't wrong per se. The code implements what's been told to do, but the code can have unintended consequences, and those unintended consequences create risks, cost overruns, delays, and liabilities. And it's those liabilities then that need to be managed.
Yeah, well, as a coder, it's humans that create the code.
Precisely.
Right? So
it's only as good as what you put in.
Yeah, so humans should take responsibility. Yes?
What's the appetite for a dispute resolution layer in smart contracts for any of the contracts you're talking about?
That's a good question. In Europe, limited, I would say. I think that where we are, and if you talk to the construction industry, what they'll say is that they are still so focused on having disputes about non-payment of subcontractors or delays on projects at a very operational level. And actually, there hasn't been that thinking yet about how to automate. I see the smart contract as the application layer, really, of the blockchain interface. And that application layer so far hasn't focused on automating dispute resolution.
Although there are companies, I know, there's first Accord has a working group around dispute resolution. There is a company in Singapore that does that.
Yeah.
Materium is trying to do it in the UK.
I was going to say that actually, Materium is trying to, but it's very much a proof of concept around you haven't paid us, therefore there's a mechanism to escalate that through the contract. It's not then starting legal proceedings, for example, for recoveries of debt.
Causation is very interesting. And causation is the lawyer's word for finding the last man standing, basically, who's got insurance to pay up. And in our current system of procurement, it's great because the architects do one thing, the engineers do one thing, the surveyors do one thing. Now, you bring that into a multidisciplinary situation where everybody contributes to the design. And when I explained this to a lawyer, she basically said, "Are we effed?" And I go, "Well, you're not far off it." But the point I wanted to make was that there needs to be systems whereby you can trace the cause if it goes back into a building information model. And again, with the application of Dynamo and blockchain and things like that, there is that possibility.
And I don't disagree with that. I think the issue that we've seen for our CBC is that many complex construction contracts do not have a simple input equals output in terms of liability, in terms of obligations, in terms of where the blame, where they sits. And I think we're not yet at the stage where those agreements are being codified through smart contracts. We're still at the early stages, I think, of simpler inputs and outputs. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, I was no doubt the complexity. Make just a quick point in terms of AI, machine learning and AI, which is no doubt going to have an influence in design and construction. But break it down, what does AI do? It makes you hopefully better but faster decisions, which impact on value transactions, which need to be recorded. So AI will not progress in the way that it should do until blockchain is embedded within the AI in order to record the value transactions. Okay. Now, you can have other AIs as the consensus mechanism for that value transaction. Now, that's where it starts to become interesting.
All I wanted to say briefly was that we're really happy to collaborate through Client Code around the world, in the US, in Asia Pacific. We're working with clients on a lot of this. So my partner, Marianne, and I will be here for drinks afterwards if you would like to talk about it.
So basically what you're all saying is that first we have to learn how to actually write a contract, and then we can try to code it or not.
Then you can shoot the lawyers.
Yeah, lovely. Well, I can open this discussion and we can have some more questions, or we can cut it short and move it to the drinks so that we catch up on some time. I don't want to open another topic, just...
Yeah, we have a little bit of time? Let's...
Yeah, I think.
Well, we are 16 minutes behind.
Yeah, so I think that if we cut the break short by 10 minutes and we make this 25 minutes, take it up to 22, so I think that would give us another 9 minutes. But,
so do you have questions? Yes.
Hello.
I'm speaking next anyway, so maybe we can cut some of my time out. I find it all fascinating how we can apply blockchain to different industries. What is the tipping point that will have come within construction to make this happen? Where is that confidence going to come from? What is that moment where everybody kind of sort of falls into a domino effect type things? What is it? That's what I'm really keen to know.
Yeah, in my presentation, I did give some examples of successful networks. Yeah, and I think you have to learn a lot about the successful networks, is how it was built. I'm not going to repeat it, but it is about you know that you have a few big players that will stand up to make the difference, and that if they create something like a network of a blockchain, then others will join. We had this responsible sourcing example where Ford was finally, and some other big ones, and then others will join. Or Maersk with Straightlands, then the other shipping companies will join. But that is one thing in there. The next thing now is that because there are already some networks alive, is also to think about what can I do with a network from the other industry. Because there are so many things, it will become a network of networks. Yeah? It's not like there's only one network coming here that's solving the whole construction industry. It will become a network of networks. So now the people who do have the network, they think about how can I use something out of that shipping environment for supply chain? How can I use it for my industry? And that is a different way of thinking what we have to do also. Those for me are two things to scale and speed up the growth of these networks.
I'll just say one thing, which is, from my perspective, first successful production deployment brings a massive wave of interest, especially right now where we have a lot of discussions and a lot of maybes and POCs. Every industry sees that one major production deployment that is very well advertised, and then everybody takes up, not necessarily joining that deployment, but saying, okay, someone did something, I'm behind, I'm going to join this crowd.
Yes, I think one tipping point could turn out to be the establishment of genuine alliances to deliver projects. And the two strands that are happening are, one is at the very big scale, which is known as Project 13, which is a civil engineering concept where infrastructure is delivered by the client and the supply chain going into business together for maybe a decade, and the suppliers getting rewards from the performance of the asset. All of that is sort of walking straight into what you've just been talking about, and it's seen as relevant to the water industry, to Heathrow. It's almost certainly potentially relevant to High Speed 2. There are lots of ways in which Project 13 is asking for what you're working on. And at the other extreme, is the thing I know about is the insurance-backed alliancing concept, which I understand that the Scottish government is actually actively interested in. We don't have a government in England at the moment, but we do in Scotland. The point there being that quite modest-scaled projects can be put onto an alliance basis where there's shared risk, shared reward, and where BIM is assumed, and the tools that augment BIM would be an obvious next step. And I think the connecting of the lifetime of the facility to the design and construction of it, which is this gap which is so rarely crossed, something the public sector is obviously going to have to learn, but there are major companies in the private sector who could learn it too. I mean, Deloitte's clearly understand it for their own facilities. Maybe it's too clever for a lot of people, but whatever it is, those are the areas where the spark could cross and where you could say, there it goes, there it is, why aren't we all doing it?
A quick one-liner. The tipping point for blockchain in construction would be when they're actually doing it and they don't realise they're doing it.
Yeah, so I wanted to add in a slight caution on what we hope for with the tipping point, in the sense of I think we have to really look at what we should do as opposed to what we can do. Now I've been looking at blockchain from a different view to that side of the room, I think, in terms of I've been looking at it from an IoT perspective. And so that the whole sustainability and energy requirements of this was raised yesterday, and it was actually, I think it was dismissed a bit yesterday in terms of we shouldn't worry about it. But if I look at the potential volumes of data that we're proposing to store that might have use, we don't know, it might do. Data isn't free. Yeah, it has a real physical cost to it. And so we're doing all of this good work to try and make our environment more sustainable. And we've got the real risk of doing a similar thing to how we did with roads and encouraging vehicle and pollution. And the reason why cities are polluted is because of the decisions we made around road infrastructure, one could argue. So it's also how do we, if we are going to get to that tipping point, are we going to get to the right tipping point? Is something I would kind of push for.
I think for me, the tipping point is concerted government backing, because a permissionless public blockchain that's broad enough, that has the interconnections that's needed in order to give credibility. For a lot of construction companies who all say they think it's fantastic as an idea, but actually don't want to be the first mover. Things like off-site manufacturing, things like alternative ways of delivering ecological, climate-friendly development, all of that piece is much higher up the current list of worries, I think, of construction contractors. So until there's government backing and funding through the EU, through the US administration, through major economies implementing this sensibly, I think there's always going to be a risk of a first move advantage that people can't see.
There is another question there, and I think it'll be the last one.
Oh, gosh, what an honour. Thanks. A comment and a question, Pete. I mean, the comment is that, I'll mention it because nobody else has. Infrastructure and buildings are very different industries. Yeah. Right? Infrastructure largely has the customer as the owner, occupier, maintainer, either by themselves or by someone closely contracted to them. Buildings can be anything, right, from spec built to whatever. That's a comment, and so perhaps it's not surprising that things go at different rates in infrastructure than in the building world, largely. My question is that the UK government, and I won't go over exactly what I did yesterday. The UK government induced a change in the UK by demanding that, as a customer, projects should be undertaken within a 3D level 2 BIM environment. BIM, I'm not saying at all that the UK invented it, but BIM, I think, has travelled the world largely because, and the way it was done in the UK, it hasn't affected contract. And it hasn't affected commercial aspects. My question then, sorry I've taken long to come out with it, do you see blockchain as similar or different? And my question really then is, once you start heading into the realms of contract, are you much more likely to necessitate a very local context for each application?
And you all have one sentence.
Yes, every contract's different. I mean, you start with a fitted contract or a JCT or an NEC contract, the models in the UK. But every contract is tailored in some way to its project.
The rate of adoption has been very disappointing. It's best practice. It should be out there. You need to find out, well, there are reasons why it's not. Will it survive in the current setup of the current design and construction industry? No. I think in the way that Bitcoin became a parallel financial industry, I wonder, do we need a BIM blockchain parallel design and construction industry?
One of the reasons that level 2 was defined the way it was in order not to disturb contractual and insurance relationships, because otherwise nothing would have happened.
Yes.
I think if this toolkit is developed, it will enable us to move on to level 3, or whatever the future of digital construction is. But just remember why level 2 is so defined. It is blocked in by the need not to disturb the contractual furniture.
Very, very brief comment on this. I wrote the strategy for level 3 5 years ago. I'm still waiting.
Well,
You
if
should
there,
live so long.
if there are no more comments, I think we should finish and take this to the next talk. And I wanted to thank you all for coming. I have to leave, so I won't see you later. But it was a great pleasure to be here.